Hi, my name is Robertino Matausch, and I'm the head of global pre-sales engineering at Heimdal Security. Next week, we are launching our brand new tool, PASM, and I want to show you right here with a real-world scenario how you can use PASM for granting access to specific resources, for example, on critical infrastructure. As I'm living in Munich and nearby, the airport is exactly at the moment exchanging all his infrastructure. The question is, okay, how do you protect your routers, for example, you're getting from a supplier against abuse? You want to keep control on all the passwords, the connections. How can you protect that against the abuse of maybe a supplier or a hacker? Well, the answer is quite easy. You're using PASM, our portal, and you log in as an admin. And you see, I have here my Heimdal account. That is a local account. You can also use an Azure account or an AD account to sign in. We are always supporting two-factor authentication, and I'm just entering my code right now. Here I have the first view, my resources on my favorites. I have as an admin the overview on requests. I will show you that later. I have here my resources. You see, I can have connection types. For example, I used right here a connection to the Cisco router in Terminal 1 in room 502, on 404 to a SQL server and a web server at Strato. And I can create right now a new SSH connection, for example, to a FortiGate web interface. So the hostname might be firewall 1, for example, at, or let's take it like that, network.infra. I'm using SSH as connection. I'm using port 22, how it is described in the FortiGate part. And now I'm using a username. This can be something I'm setting up, and nobody else knows that except the administrators. So let's take, for example, Gandalf. And the password is, of course, a secret. I can use also a certificate that I'm storing, for example, here for my different connections. You see, I have for Terminal 1 a special private key. I can define remote applications, directory, etc. And I can activate the recording of a session. So every time a user is connecting to that specific endpoint, it will automatically start a recording and store that recording for compliance on the PASM server. I confirm it right now, and now you see I have a new FortiGate firewall connection directly created. Now, as an admin, I can, of course, connect to it directly. The other options I have is I can grant permissions. So, for example, I have a user called Wanda. You see, Wanda is a user out of my Active Directory, so I'm using her. And now you see, I add her. I have now the option either to grant her the usage, you see the ability to list and use the resource, and I can grant her the right to request it, view it, or fully administrate it. So let's just allow her to request it. And then I'm just saving that, and all is done. Now, when I'm logging off to show you that, and I'm using Wanda, and I sign in, you see on the resources tab, the only connection she has is right now the FortiGate firewall, and she can right now request that for a specific time. So an expiration date, so she can say, for example, I need access on Friday, the 5th, until, let's say, 8 o'clock and 15 minutes. And send that request reason, let's assume a firmware update. Grant, done. Now, Wanda has, you see, the request is sent to the administrator. And now if the administrator is logging in, I'm switching again the role and switching back to my account. And of course, two-factor authentication. You see, I have an active request from Wanda. Here, I can now approve it or deny it, and I can approve the request and say, yes, it is valid until that time frame. And Wanda can now request the connection, connect to the FortiGate firewall, update via SSH the firmware without knowing what she really is, which access rights she's using. So she maybe just knows she's using the account Gandalf, but without any knowledge about the password. So that gives me full control on the access to my resources in my environment. Of course, it is not limited right here, as you can see, on one connection. Here, for example, I have connection groups. I can create these groups right here very easy. So I'm adding a group, for example, for FortiGate. Firewalls, let's assume in terminal 2. Then here you see I have the FortiGate terminal group, and now I can add my connection, for example, this one right here, by adding that to this group. So when I'm adding it, and you see I have here my resource group, I can add it right now to the FortiGate terminal group. And I can assign one or groups of users to this group. So I can group the users, and I can group also the devices I want to connect to. And with that capability, I can completely separate the users that can access the dashboard from the devices and connections on the other side. So we are also automatically terminating the sessions, etc. And on each session, I have, of course, the information, as you can see here, the view sessions part, who connected when. Is there a video, for example? You see, I'm here. I can request the processing and download. I can follow everything right here. And I have also the option to set expiration dates for the videos or retention days. I have an Active Directory integration. I have Azure integration and SMTP for sending the authentication emails, and full logging also right here, who was doing what in the environment. That is just a short introduction to the product. A lot of more product information will follow during the next days. Thank you.